Anyway, welcome to It Builds character number 4. This is a show where I build with suggestions and comments from you folks in the chat various characters in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. This week, as per suggestion, I am building Hellboy, but I gotta be completely upfront and honest with you guys. I know cursory knowledge and have cursory knowledge of Hellboy. I will also say that the majority of my knowledge comes from the Hellboy movies, not from the comics. I don't have anything against the comics. It's just not something that I got around to reading as a kid or as an adult. So you're going to have to bear with me. But by all means, please give me suggestions for ideas. This one is going to really stretch the limit of my imagination here. Because of my lack of knowledge and the functions of D&D 5th edition. So we're going to just move this off to the side here and get everything all hooked up. And thank you everybody who's been retweeting. I'm just putting up a post on my Discord, which I have, by the way, which I can throw up here in the chat for anybody who's curious. If you'd like to join our Discord server, where you can get a hold of me pretty much 24/7, along with several other folks you see on the streams here. Okay, sorry. One last little tweet here, and then we'll be good to go. And normally this stream is set to start at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, so that would have been about an hour prior to current. However, my mom came up to visit my son, so it was a little bit later starting than I anticipated. I also wasn't feeling that great, so I wanted to, rather than have to jump in and out not feeling great, I decided to postpone a little bit. But yes, Cartmageddon, I am feeling better. I just needed a little break, just I took a cat nap, and it's amazing how much a half an hour nap can do for you. You just get so much back from that. So anyway, we're building Hellboy. So as I stated it kind of at the start here, there's there's not really a race that exists. Also, I should probably pull open the player's handbook. That would not be a bad idea. Because apparently I didn't open that up beforehand. Alright, I'll add that to the list here. We'll zoom us out. Alright. So, Hellboy's a half-demon. There is no half-demon race for player characters in 5th edition. I have no means and no problems homebrewing something. So, I'm okay with that. But I just wanted to put that out there. The closest thing we have currently is a tiefling. And tieflings, I don't want to help to spread the misnomer that tieflings are half-demon. They are not. A half-human, half-demon is a Cambion in 5th edition, as well as in previous editions. But, unfortunately, we don't have stats to play Cambions either. But we can use a Cambion as a little bit of an idea of where we kind of want to go with this for immunities and resistances. And actually, that reminds me, if I'm going to attempt to do that, I should pull open the monster manual on the side here. So then I had some thoughts about, well, what kind of class is Hellboy? That is also a good question. Clearly, one of the main weapons and probably the most iconic thing that is associated with Hellboy is the Good Samaritan, his oversized 4-chambered revolver pistol that has all manner of crazy different rounds that he makes, and, its handle was made from, I think, the cross, like the crucifixion cross, and like the medals are made from like church bells, and there's a whole, it's crazy. It's a good gun. So I think we're gonna probably try to lean heavily on the gun side of things for this, just for the mechanics. Now again, he's got the right hand of Doom, which there isn't anything for that, and I don't really consider the right hand of Doom a magic item because it was imparted upon him from birth. So it's not like really an item, and I feel like you shouldn't have to attune to something that is physically part of your being. So we got to work on that. But he's also you know, shown flat-out immunities to various damage types. Sometimes knowledge and understanding of necromantic magics. So this one's gonna go a little bit crazy. And we could dive heavily into the minutia here. And like, well, that one in comic this, or in this part of the show, or this, that, and the other thing, he did this one thing. And then that could completely drastically alter the way we build this character. So I'm gonna try to focus on mostly... I think we're focusing heavily on the gunplay is gonna be the plan here. I think that's probably just gonna make the most sense. So I think we're gonna use the Gunslinger from Matt Mercer's homebrew. The one, if you're familiar with Critical Role, that Percy uses. This one right here, it is available for pay what you want on the Dungeon Masters Guild, so anybody can get a copy of this. You don't have to spend any special money on it. This is a fighter archetype, so I feel like that makes sense. Hellboy is fighter-esque. You could also make the argument that Hellboy is a rogue. I wouldn't disagree with you there. But I don't think... He's not super dexterous, which is also my downside with the Gunslinger part, is a Gunslinger uses dexterity to make all of their ranged weapon attacks. But he's also self-quoted on several occasions of saying, I'm not that good of a shot. And then he goes forward to use swords and other close combat weapons. So, I guess you're right. I guess you're right. So it's a little on the tricky side. But, like, one thing we do know is he is super strong. Like, he is very, very... Both from his demonic heritage, as well as from just bodybuilding and training. He is massively strong. So I don't think we can ignore the strength. He has the ability, both in the comics and in the movies, to take just a shit ton of damage, riddled with holes by machine guns and things of that nature. So he's got to have a decent constitution, or at least a formidable constitution, and that he can take a bunch of hits, but he also has a lot of resistances. In the movies, I believe it was stated that he was completely immune to fire and electricity. So, you know, it's kind of... it's all over the place. He does have a decent intelligence. He's knowledgeable about things. He was a private investigator, you know, a paranormal investigator for a while. So he's got to have an okay intelligence. He's fairly perceptive as well, and I think charisma is going to be the dump stat here. But if we're going with a tiefling as the main build, it's like it's all over the place. So let's start, I guess, with our base stats, as per always for these, to keep things easy and not drive myself up a wall. We're going to use the standard array of 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8. So, charisma is going to be the 8. We know that right out the gate. No big deal. We're going to give 12 wisdom and 10 intelligence. He is still fairly intelligent, not hyper intelligent. And that is actually almost a travesty in my mind. That probably should be higher. But it's a function of the game. We know we kind of go back and forth. You could argue that as a half-demon, you know, maybe he's got big bumps in strength and dex and con, and then we can, you know, recover stuff. But like I said, you know, you dive heavily into the fanness of this, you're going to be all over the place. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he does have an immunity to... God, what the hell's her name? I want to say Liz, but that may be wrong. What was her name? Oh, I was right, Liz. Okay. Yeah, she does. She's the pyromaniac. You're right. It could very well be that the electricity is the burn, and that's sort of the thing there. Then we've got 15, 14, and 13. So, I think we gotta put the 15 in strength. I think he's fairly strong. I think we can put the 13 in constitution and the 14 in dexterity. So then we gotta look at a race. So let's take a look at what a Cambion gets. And we'll see, you know, I mean, again, we don't have the knowledge of how to build a Cambion, but we can kind of just try to pull something off of this and take a look at it. So Cambions have resistances to cold, fire, lightning, poison, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magic weapons. Okay. I don't actually think that that's unreasonable to give Hellboy. And their stats are fairly solid across the board. We're obviously not going to do that. I don't really see Hellboy as an innate spellcasting kind of guy. Yes, they can plane shift. Yes, they have Fiendish Charm and Fire Rays. And they can change their form and cast Command and detect magic. It's not really Hellboy's style. So, how can we tweak stuff around? So we know he's obviously going to have resistance to fire damage. Part of me thought about looking at the Abyssal Tiefling variant that exists in one of the Unearthed Arcanas, where you get a +1 Constitution, +2 Charisma, and then substituting that with, over here, we have in the Tiefling variants in the Sword Coast Adventure Guide, we could go with a Feral Tiefling, where your Intelligence increases by 1, and your Dex goes up by 2, but instead replace that Intelligence with a Con for an Abyssal Tiefling. And that was sort of my thought, is maybe we give him a 16 Dex and call it a day, because he's still not, he says he's not a great shot. Okay, so 16 Dex is, like, that's middle of the road-ish. It's not great, but it's not, you know, he's not a sharpshooter by any means. You know what? Let's do that. Let's say we'll do a little bit of a feral variant here, so we'll give him a +2 Dex from the Feral Tiefling variant, and a +1 Con, so he's at 14 Con. So we're going to give him Dark Vision to 60 feet, but we're going to give him, you know, half, we're going to call it half Demon resistances. And we're going to give him the Cambion's resistances, because I think it fits him well. So that's going to be 5, what is it? Cold, fire, lightning, poison. It's powerful, I agree, but it's Hellboy. Like, you gotta have the clearance in your from your DM to play Hellboy. So, fire, cold, lightning, poison, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magic weapons. And I will also point out that a Cambion is only a challenge rating 5. So let's keep that in mind. So right now, all we gave him innately was Dark Vision, these resistances to damage types, and a +2 Dex, a +1 Con. I don't think that that's crazy overpowered for a race. He does have the Right Hand of Doom, which is, like I said, that's technically a race feature, sort of. But I'm going to say that it's also going to give him a that Half Demon's going to give him a +1 strength. So we're at 16 there as well. And this is 0, and this is 1, and this is -1. So what level are we going to build Hellboy at? If we're going with Fighter, like we talked about, that's always the tricky part, is how high of a level do you want to make these characters? So, let's take a look. I think 12 is a reasonable level to start. It's a little, you get a couple ability score improvements in there, gives you some power. What does a gunslinger get? Let's take a look at 14. Or 15. They get the trick shot at 10, so that's good. They get the lightning reload at 15. We may have to make him a 15th level character. Just because he does seem to... He's pretty quick at reloading and only using the same hand that he also uses to shoot, because he can't reload with the Right Hand of Doom. And piercing shot is you shoot through one and hit the next enemy, and he has I mean, it's a hand cannon, like, it does some serious damage. So I think we're going to go with level 15. So we're going to call him a Fighter 15. We're going to call the race Half Demon. The background, we'll come back to that, but it's kind of, you know, I mean, he's a demon. You could go with orphan or urchin rather, but he was sort of raised, so he wasn't really, I mean, but he kind of was raised noble-ish. It's kind of all over the place. So we'll come back to that and we'll focus on everything else. So at level 15, his proficiency bonus is going to be a 5. Fighters get proficiency in strength and con saves. Reasonable for Hellboy. His speed's going to be 30. And he gets 2 skill proficiencies. So acrobatics, animal handling, athletics, history, insight, intimidation, perception, survival. I think we're going to go athletics and perception, as one typically does. Athletics and perception. I mean, he also you could argue that he's a soldier too. Could be an option you could make a point for. As far as background, I'm just gonna, you know what? We're gonna make up our own. We're just gonna call it half demon. You know, he doesn't really, or well, how about this? How about BPRD? And we'll give him investigation. I guess we could go with the City Watch investigation variant from the Sword Coast Adventure Guide. That's fairly similar. But we'll give him investigation, and I'm going to give him history because he's got a fairly decent proficiency in history. What else do we need to do? So I think we're going to actually close out the Sword Coast Adventure Guide because we're not doing anything too crazy here. You know, and you can have some of the variants, appearances, the red skin, the sawed-off horns, and things of that nature. Okay, so I think we're probably, I mean, just because this is the situation we're in, we're gonna give him the archery fighting style, so he's a little bit better at shooting. Ooh, you know what? I think you're right. Let's get rid of history and give him Arcana. Good point, Cartmageddon. Arcana is because of his focus isn't really on history, it's more on paranormal history. Arcana, good call. Fighting style, it's archery, but archery is really just to give you a +2 to ranged attack rolls. You know, it's sort of contradictory of what we were just talking about him not being a great shot. But I'm just going to leave it out there, so we're going to write in here Good Samaritan. Oh, I probably spelled that awfully. I think, maybe? Let's see. Did I spell it right? I did. Good for me. Oh, I put an extra I in there. And we'll call this, what does this say? And alright, so let's keep moving on. So that's level 1. He also gets second wind, which makes sense because he does heal himself. Like, he also has just like flat out fast healing where he just heals like over time, but we can try to flavor that as second wind. Bonus action heal fighter level D10 HP. Level 2, he's gonna get action surge, additional action, which again could be, you know, that's pretty good and pretty useful. Explain some of the more crazy stuff he's able to do. That's second level, and then we're already up to third level for our Archetype feature. So we get Gunslinger at third level. What do we get at third level? We get proficiency with firearms, and we also get proficiency with and then tinker tools. But he's not really a tinkerer, but that's fine. So we've got firearms. Oh, and he's got common, abyssal. We'll go firearms. And then what else do we get at level 3? We get our grit points, which again is another reason we're going to want to have decent wisdom. So we have, put down here, grit, And we have 1 point currently. We're going to change that, hopefully, as we level up here. What else do we have? So, alright, there we go. I just want to make sure that it's, so grit. You gain grit back when you crit with a firearm and you kill a foe. You get them all back on a short or long rest, and right now you can spend 1 grit to make a Deadeye shot to give yourself advantage on the roll. So we have, grit is, gained back on crit or when killing an enemy. Makes me remember things that I didn't do last night in the game I was just playing. Took a feat, never used it. Gained back on crit or when killing an enemy. Oh, I'm so dumb. Just thinking about last night's game really making me upset. Crit gain back or when killing an enemy. Then we have Deadeye shot. Spend 1 grit to gain advantage on attack roll. I think that's all we get for this level. Alright, so next up is level 4, where we get to raise an ability score. We're going to raise our strength, because we know strength is going to be one of his strong suits here. So that's level 4. We're going to put that at 18. We're going to get... maybe, or not. If this is going to work here. Extra attack at 5. 1 additional attack. And then, that's 6. We get another ability score improvement, because we're a fighter here. So guess what? 6. We're at maximum strength. So, that's not too bad. What else do we have? Now we're going to go to level 7, which is a Gunslinger feature. You add your proficiency bonus to your initiative. You can also stow a firearm, then draw another firearm. That's not really super common for Hellboy. So our initiative will be, again, it'll be eventually be 8. But, what else? We also have Violent Shot, so we'll put that in. You can spend 1 or more grit points before making an attack roll with a firearm. For each grit point spent, that attack gains +2 to the firearm's misfire score. If the attack hits, you roll 1 additional damage die per grit point spent. So, I'm going to go over here. And go Violent Shot, and that is, let's write that down, 1 or more grit points to increase the damage of the shot by 1 per grit spent. Each point spent adds 2 to the misfire roll. Okay, so that is that. I'll make sure we didn't miss anything here. 7. Alright, we get another ability score improvement here at level 8 we're at right now. We're going to take his wisdom up to 14. And this is going to go up to a 2 because we want those 2 grit points. Then at 9, again, and this will also tie into the whole being able to resist things. We have Indomitable, 1 use, to help us re-roll a failed saving throw. Indomitable. Domitable? Domitable. 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 1 use. Re-roll 1 failed saving throw. Must take new number. Okay. Now we're level 10 fighter, which gives us another martial archetype feature, which is again another good Hellboy thing here from the Gunslinger class, or subclass, is the trick shot ability. So at level 10, I think we're going to have to go onto the second page here. We're going to go trick shot. We should be keeping track of our ability score improvements. We had +2 strength, We had +2 strength. We had +2 wisdom. Hey, Hypertroller, how's it going, guys? Welcome to everybody else who just joined in the chat. We're building Hellboy currently. So far, we decided he's going to be a level 15 fighter. Sort of a homebrew half-demon that's heavily based off of Tiefling with a little Cambion thrown in there. And he's going to be a gunslinger. So we just get up to our level 10 ability for the gunslinger, which is Trick Shot. So 1 grit point before making an attack. Alright. 1 grit before making an attack to target a specific body part. And then let's see, I can't copy that. So, alright. DC equals 8 plus proficiency bonus plus dex mod. And then we have, what is it, 4 types? Head, arms, torso, legs / wings. Head, arms, torso, legs / wings. And then head, it's normal damage, and it's con save or disadvantage on attacks. So con save or disadvantage on attacks till end of next turn. Arms is going to be strength saving throw or drop held weapon. Strength save or drop held weapon. Torso is push 10 feet. Pushed 10 feet away. And legs / wings. Strength save or knocked prone. Strength save or knocked prone. Alright, so level 11 is going to be an additional attack, so that's our 3rd attack with our extra attack ability. Level 12, we've got another ability score improvement. I think we're going to put our Constitution up to 16, so this is going to go up to a 3. As, again, as we've discussed, dude can take quite a few hits. Then at 13, we're just going through class features, Cartmageddon, so far. Yeah, I mean, I did a couple, we did, +2 con, Constitution. So his stats are looking like this at the moment. 20, 16, 16, 10, 14, 8. Yeah, he's kind of charismatic-ish. I don't disagree with what you're saying. Problem being when you're building these characters and you have these standard build stats, I would say he's charismatic in a way. I mean, he did score Liz, so that's something. But, yeah, I know. But when I think of Hellboy, and I'm sure when most of you think of Hellboy, you don't go, damn, that's one fine half-demon. You think more about his physical prowess. So that's sort of where I'm focusing in on. Because as I've said, whether you're building from movies or comics or action, you know, or animated, you know, I think it was an animated series too, you know, and trying to still build it within the realms of the D&D 5th edition umbrella, it makes things a little bit difficult. So we did 13, was another indomitable use. 14, he's a fighter, so we've got another ability score improvement. I think I would love to bump up his wisdom again, to bump him up a little bit higher to give him another grit point. But I think I'm gonna do Constitution, give him an 18 con, and then just another +2 Constitution. So we're sitting on 20, 16, 18, 10, 14, 8. Again, we could argue that being a half demon when we kind of homebrewed it at the beginning, which we said was a +2 dex, +1 con, +1 strength, it probably could have, yeah, Zelda Master. Yeah, that's... I'm gonna give the Right Hand of Doom itself, when I get to that point, I'm gonna give the Right Hand of Doom increased damage. Like, it's gonna be basically treated, which I'm gonna get to in just a sec, but I'm basically going to treat it as a Warhammer, as opposed to just an unarmed strike, so it's gonna do a D8 plus his strength mod, because... and it's the Right Hand of Doom. So, I feel like that one specifically would be treated as a Warhammer. I mean, yes, he punches with the other hand as well, but, I mean, I'm trying to still keep this within a relative realm of balance. I mean, if we start, you know, going too deep into it, we could say, yeah, it does 2d8 damage, or, you know, it's considered as having a strength of 25, and, you know, then it does a d8 plus 7 damage. I'm not technically opposed to that. That may be something that ends up happening. I haven't decided yet. So we hit 14. We got our last ability score improvement that we're going to get. And then at 15 is our lightning reload and our piercing shot ability. So, lightning reload. Reload as a bonus action, and piercing shot. Ugh, piercing shot. Alright, what do we got for piercing shot here? Okay. Spend 1 grit point before making an attack. If it hits, you make an attack against every creature in a line directly behind the target within your first range instrument. Exactly. Yeah, thank you, Zelda Master. To your point, if those of you are just listening, you know, and not watching the video itself, he said, I mean, it's like those characters who, those people who try to make characters like Kratos in D&D. You're simply never going to be able to be strong enough to actually kill gods. Yeah, especially with the mechanics. I mean, it's arguably never doable, but there was stupid things you could do in previous editions that would allow you, like, crazy weird builds and way things you could do stuff in the past. But, like, the fact that in 3.5, you could roll 3... If you rolled 3 natural 20s in a row in 3.5, it instant killed whatever you were fighting. If you somehow managed to roll a natural 20 3 times in a row, there was no it was just killed. So, like, theoretically, that was a way you could kill a god in an old edition. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of wonky stuff. It's harder to get any super crazy god-killing builds. If you're curious, you can look up Pun Pun the Kobold as an idea. That's something you could do at level 1 as a Kobold and become one of the most powerful creatures in the world in 3.5. There's a lot of stuff like that that used to exist. 5th edition has put a squash on a bunch of that. But anyway, I digress. Piercing shot, 1 grit point. Alright, what's 1 grit? Attack, you make an attack roll. If hits, make an attack against all creatures within the short range increment of your weapon. First shot could misfire. You could do a lot of things in 3.5. Yeah. Let's see. I think if I go here... I mean, this book right here, Deities and Demigods, this is just a book of gods. And I mean, this was 3.5, so there is a separate book, Faiths and Pantheons, which I have right over there, which was for the Forgotten Realms gods, which is people are more familiar with the Forgotten Realms gods now because 5th edition is focused entirely in the realms mostly. But like this also had like let's see, what do I have that you guys will understand? Like I got Thor right there. So I've got Thor's in 3.5 what Thor's stats were. So, you know, things like that. Some gods, you're right, Hypertroller, like Tiamat has stats in the back of the Rise of Tiamat book. I don't know if Lolth, actually, do I have it right in front of me? No, Out of the Abyss is over there. They have the Demon Lords in the back of Out of the Abyss. I'm not sure if Lolth is in there. So that's a potential. So, let us keep going before I get too distracted and go off book here. So, we have all of our abilities in here. So far, we're pretty powerful at the moment. We haven't done any weapons or any kind of magic items at this point. Which, again, is also a conversation that could go crazy, because Hellboy does, throughout the course of the comics and the movies, have he just has, I mean, he's a paranormal investigator, he's got all this stuff, he's got a ton of different magic items that do various things, you know, from different grenades and explosives to 5 or 6 different rounds for the Good Samaritan, you know, all these different things. So we could go really crazy down that road as well, pulling out all sorts of crazy magic items. Yeah, I know he's got, like I said, there's a lot that you can do. But we're going to focus mostly on the Good Samaritan, as that is the most iconic of his. Although he did have a semi-automatic weapon once, I think, that exploded, if I recall from my research. But we've got our resistances right here. Fire, cold, lightning, poison, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magic weapons. That should keep him alive and be able to do some of the more heroic stuff that Hellboy does in the course of the comics and the movies. We didn't fill out his HP yet, which is going to be, what is that, 10 times 14, 140, plus 14, 154 HP. So, you know, he can take a decent hit. We haven't figured out what his armor is right now. He wears a trench coat. We can argue that the trench coat is studded leather. You can add Ghost Rider to the list. He's not on the list at the moment, but he can be added to the list if you want. Hyper Troller. He'll be currently in like mid-December, will be Ghost Rider. I'll pull up the list after the stream ends, or at the end of the stream rather, to show you guys where we're at. So he's got a 16 dex, so that's +3. If we argue that, I mean, we may make the trench coat a magic trench coat, but it's a +2. We'll say it counts as studded leather, so that's 15 AC. I would say his AC is probably a little bit higher than that, but we'll come back. Okay. We have all of our fighter abilities, Action Surge, Second Wind for some healing. We have all of our grit-based abilities for our Gunslinger. We have an 8 initiative, so we're probably going to go pretty often. We reload on as a bonus action. We can gain advantage on our attacks. We can try to do extra damage. We can re-roll failed saving throws. We actually have 2 uses of Indomitable at this point. And we have our trick shots to try to make people drop weapons, push them back, things of that nature. And we can also shoot through people to hit people behind them. So, a fair set of abilities. And these are our ability score improvements. Again, he's a fighter, so he gets all of these. But part of the reason why I went with just stat boosts is, again, we're trying to build a legendary, iconic comic book character. I mean, if this was just carte blanche where I wasn't trying to just build it as we were leveling the character up, yeah, these stats would be way different. Like, he probably wouldn't have anything less than a 12. You know, I'd say probably a 12 charisma is about the level. No. Gunslinger ability, Hyper Troller, is you add your proficiency bonus to your initiative rolls. That is right here. Quick draw. You add your proficiency bonus to your initiative. So his proficiency bonus is a 5. So 8. Okay. Arguably, he probably has multiple. I know he can read multiple languages and knows other languages than just Abyssal. We'll probably just throw an Infernal here as well because, you know, demonic languages. And I don't know if they specify between like demons and devils. Yeah, gunslingers are pretty powerful. If you can swing it, it's pretty good. But we haven't actually gotten to the gun side of it yet, so we're down here now. So, if we look down here at the bottom, these are the various firearms that he based, and because we're using this build, we're going to use these. So if you look at these are the different weapons that exist. And the way these works is the reload property is how many shots they can fire before they need to reload. And the misfire ability is if you roll, yeah, I might do that. I'm okay with that. The misfire ability is if you roll the actual die roll is under whatever the misfire number here is, then the gun misfires. If the attack misses, the weapon can't be used until you spend an action to try and repair it. And to repair it, you need to make a successful check. And if that fails, then it needs to be repaired out of combat. So, we know that the Good Samaritan is a 4-shot revolver. The only difference between the pepper box and the pistol is 6 shots, and the range is a little bit increased. Let's be honest, the Good Samaritan isn't a long-range weapon by any means. So we may tweak some stuff here. And Bad News is designed to be a massive rifle. That's two-handed, so I don't think we're going to do that. The pistol does a D10. That's pretty solid to do a D10 out to 100 feet or 400 feet for the long-range increment. A reload 4 and a misfire 1. That seems relatively on point. It's just whether or not we increase the damage, which we obviously are going to. It's a magic. I'm going to call it a magic gun. The gun itself is magic. The rounds that are used in it are also magic. So I don't want to keep defaulting to the Mace of Disruption, but I feel like it's probably the best fit. Bonus damage against undead and fiends. I mean, the handles are crafted from, the cross, and let me get you the exact, or one of the more exact descriptions here. Let's see. Fires custom-made bullets. The gun itself has unearthly resistances to almost all forms of attacks and includes grips carved from fragments of the true cross. The metal of the gun is forged from a combination of Irish church bells, cold iron from crucifixes, blessed silver, and other mystical metals. So, that is clearly an anti-unholy weapon. So I think we say that it's an adamantine pistol, I guess. Which is fine. I mean, the adamantine doesn't do much. And then I would say, so it's an adamantine pistol, just for the unbreakability of it. Yes, sharpshooter can totally make a gunslinger extremely powerful. I highly recommend if you're playing a gunslinger and you can get access to the sharpshooter feat, preferably by being a human and getting it level 1, you are way power. Big Baby could be a modified hand mortar, not a bad call. And the explosive trait, which is the only one that has it, is the hand mortar. Upon a hit, everything within 5 feet of the target must make a dexterity saving throw or suffer a d8 fire damage because the ammunition explodes. We could argue that, because a hand mortar makes me think of a hand cannon, which is more of along the lines of the Good Samaritan, but I think what we're going to do... I feel bad because this is very similar to what we did for the Vampire Killer Whip for Trevor Belmont, but I feel like we're... So, they're similar in that nature, in the way they work, so... the Good Samaritan, we're going to say this is a plus. This is a adamantine pistol. I think we're gonna... Now, you know what? We're gonna say it's an adamantine pistol. And let me pull up the exact things. Because, like we've said before, he's not the best of shots. So let's pull up the Dungeon Master Guide here. And we'll jump down to magical items. We'll jump forward a little bit here. And the reason why I have stated using the Mace of Disruption as an option is because... Oh. Lethal Albert. Lethal Bert, rather. Reading that correctly. Thank you for the follow. So Mace of Disruption. Right here. Fiend or Undead hit with this magic weapon takes an extra 2d6 radiant damage. If the target has 25 or fewer hit points, it needs to make a wisdom saving throw or be destroyed. On a successful save, the creature becomes frightened of you until the end of your next turn. And I'm going to obviously nix the glowing side of it. And I may remove the fear effect, because I don't really... I mean, it's an intimidating gun, let's be honest. But a lot of the things that he fought didn't seem to be on the hyper-intelligent side of things, so I don't know if they'd be... or maybe they're just immune to fear and it doesn't matter. But I would say that it would do extra damage to Undead and Fiends, which are... if they're for killing gods. You could definitely make an argument for, like, a boon, an epic level boon for killing gods. So, definitely an option. So let's jump back here. So, Good Samaritan is an adamantine pistol. Functions like a mace of... I should make this capital. Mace of Disruption. Does not have the fear effect or the glowing effect. So I think that my attempt at he definitely could. I do like the Blood Hunter a lot. I actually have been I played one for like 16 levels. He's level... I actually think he's going to be level 17 next time we get that game going. But I feel like it definitely fits, don't get me wrong, but the mystical nature of the Blood Hunter I feel like doesn't fit too well with Hellboy. I feel like, obviously, there's the one that's clearly based after The Witcher, the Alchemist. Blood Hunter is very much based around The Witcher. There's the Lycanthrope one. We could have possibly tweaked some of that stuff. Could you have the bullets, when fired, glow? Yes, he does have tracer rounds for the Good Samaritan, so that could be a thing. Alright, so we can do that. Sure. Move the fear effect. Weapon doesn't glow, but rounds when fired do. Again, if any of you guys are there in the chat and you're hanging out and you want to just lurk and be quiet, that's totally cool. But if you have comments or things you want to say to help, constructive criticism in general, things you want to talk about, updates you want to make based on what's going on here, please throw them out there. Feel free to jump in. This is a community-based thing. You guys suggested that I build Hellboy, so I'm doing it. Again, as I stated way at the beginning, about 49 minutes ago, my knowledge of Hellboy is relatively limited in the grand scheme of things, so I'm heavily taking your guys' input on this. Alright, so weapon, so we said rounds fire when they're, rounds glow when they're fired. It's adamantine, so we're going to say that makes it unbreakable, because that's typically the rule. And it functions like a Mace of Disruption. That's sort of a way to blend the specialty rounds that are crafted out of silver, hollow points with holy water tips and with little crosses etched into all that shit rolled into one to make it be like a Mace of Disruption. Because I know there are Whopper rounds, which I'm reading right now, are made of white oak, holy water, garlic, silver shavings, and clove leaves, designed to destroy any kind of folklore creatures, vampires, werewolves, witches, etc. He does have phosphorescent tracking rounds, so if we make the rounds fired from the gun glow, and then we make the rounds function like a Mace of Disruption, I think that that's fairly good. So we're going to call that the Good Samaritan. So he's going to have his proficiency bonuses of 5. He's got a 3 dex, but he has archery fighting style, so he's got a 10 to hit. It's going to do 1d10 plus 3 damage. and then it's gonna, and then, oh, and the range, I guess we should put in the range. Range 100/400, reload 4, misfire 1. There we go. So that's in there. We will come back, we'll add Big Baby in here because she brought it up, Carp. So, Big Baby. And then we'll come back. So, Right Hand of Doom. This is his fist. It's, again, like unbreakable, so we're gonna head and put this here. Right Hand of Doom, unbreakable, unarmed strikes with this hand, deal 1d8 bludgeoning damage. Because what I'm trying to think, like, the hand isn't super strong. It's super hard. Like, the hand doesn't, it's a very powerful, very strong hand. Yeah, the closest thing, Zelda Master, is Demon Armor, which is a cursed magic item, to having gauntlet-based weapons. Demon Armor in the Dungeon Master Guide, which we can probably just pull up, which would have been a cool thing to give Hellboy, but it doesn't really make any sense, it looks like this. And the unarmed strikes deal 1d8 damage and have a +1 attack, +1 damage. Yes, but I remember that he is also super strong, is what I'm getting at. Hellboy is super strong, the character. It's not necessarily just a function of the fist, is my point. Like, he is, like, off the charts. Like, I think they said he can lift a ton and, like, throw 500-pound plus enemies, no problem. Just trying to read through what the hand... Yeah, from, So, we'll come back to that at the end. We'll have a little powwow here at the end. We'll talk about it. So, I'm going to say that, yeah, his unarmed strikes do 1d8 damage. So that would mean that with the Right Hand of Doom, we would roll with a 10 to hit, and it would deal 1d8 plus 5 damage. But we will also say that attacks with this hand count as magical for overcoming damage resistance. Because I feel like that's accurate. To throw it out there, everybody has... Yep, you beat me to it. Everybody has proficiency with unarmed strikes in 5th edition. It's considered a simple weapon, an unarmed strike, and everyone is proficient with unarmed strikes. So, you just do 1 damage. Yeah. For unarmed strikes in 5th edition, you do 1 damage plus your strength modifier. There is the Tavern Brawler feat, I think it's called. Gives you a 1d4 plus your strength modifier damage for the average Joe. And monks do obviously increase damage as they level, and then also they can use their dex. So yeah, I'm going to say the Right Hand of Doom is an unbreakable hand. It deals 1d8 as opposed to, 1, which is the equivalent, I think, of like a 10th or 11th. I think it's an 11th level monk. And he doesn't have, he has training, but he's not like a disciplined level 11 monk. So I'm going to say that the fist does a d8 damage, and it counts as magical for overcoming... No! Unarmed strikes only deal 1 damage, which is why monks are really good at it. That's why a lot of people think that... Yeah, there's a pugilist class that exists out there. I haven't looked through it. But it's a whole base class that's a homebrew one. I think it's on the DM's Guild called the Pugilist. I also think there is an unarmed strike-based paladin oath out there I saw floating around. So that's one that's kind of cool. Smiting with your fists is always fun. And we'll give him Undercommon and Deep Speech as languages to the point from before, because he's fairly knowledgeable about things, so... Alright, so I think the Right Hand of Doom doing a D8 plus 5, and guys, don't, remind you, like I said, that's a max Dex monk at level 11, does a D8 plus 5, and he's also got a gun that's doing a D10 plus 2D6 to most things that he's fighting. Alright, so Big Baby, what are we gonna do? This is gonna be, again, we're gonna give Big Baby the 10 to hit, and the damage is gonna be 2d8. Let's go down here. So Big Baby, let's go. We'll make Big Baby a +3. No. Let's see. Let's make it a +2 hand mortar. How about that? +2 hand mortar, and we'll increase its damage. We'll make it not... I mean, it is fire damage, let's be honest. It's an explosive. It's a hand mortar. I should move the chat just a little bit, so there we go. I can read the whole thing. So +2 hand mortar. Let's increase the damage, because it did a lot. So we're gonna say it's gonna do 48 fire damage. That's pretty solid. 48 fire damage. Range 30-60, right? Is that what it was? Yeah. Reload 1. I think we may increase the misfire chance because we gave it so much extra damage. So we might make it a misfire 5. Explosive. And we're just going to boost this up again. Everything within 10 feet must make a Dex saving throw or take 2d8 fire damage. So that's basically what I did for Big Baby, because you're right, Carp, that it basically took out 2 gods. I just doubled everything for it. So I made it a +2 weapon. It does double the initial damage, the range is doubled, and the damage it does to the people nearby is doubled. It may seem like a lot, but remember, he could essentially, if you used Action Surge and your bonus action reload, fire this, reload, fire, reload, Action Surge, fire, reload, fire. So you could shoot this like 4 times in a turn, theoretically. And that's 16d6 fire damage with explosive. Obviously, that's not the function of Big Baby. I mean, keeping it as a hand mortar. We could also make it increase the damage significant amount and make it like a once per long rest thing, where it does like a crazy amount of damage, like it's almost the equivalent of like a fireball or a large spell. And then it's like a once per long rest thing, which I guess would probably be a more accurate interpretation, because it wasn't something like they were consistently using it like all the time. There is not actually a stat block in 5e for Brass Knuckles, to jump back on point with you guys over there. That's obviously something that can be homebrewed. But there is not a stat for that. There used to be spike gauntlets and all sorts of stuff. So we're going to say this is 48 plus 5. But a misfire of 5 is pretty big, so that's like if you roll 1 through 5 on the die, it automatically misses and jams the gun. So, oh, we didn't fill out his, so this is 10, this is 3, 9, 0, 2, minus 1. Oh, we should go through and do all these while I'm thinking about it. 2, 5, 10, minus 1, 0, 2, minus 1, 5, 2, 0, 7, minus 1, minus 1, 0, 3, 3, 2. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give him proficiency in religion as well, because he did have knowledge of religion growing up. So we're going to make that a 5. And this is 17. Alright. What the hell happened here? Alright. So, I don't know, guys. Did I miss anything? What do you guys think? Am I missing anything on this build right now? Is there anything that needs to be added here? Let me know, and I'll do it, but I feel like I probably touched on a majority of the important things here. He's strong, he can take a bunch of hits, he's got resistance. The only thing I didn't give him was like a healing factor, like a base healing factor, but we're just sort of chalking that up to Second Wind. Even though, again, Second Wind is a one-time use per short rest, he does technically probably would have something similar to like a Revenant's healing ability or a Champion Fighter's healing ability. But yeah, I'm curious, what do you guys think? What do you think about the weapons? The Good Samaritan doing a D10, but having the extra damage to Fiends and Undeads. So I didn't, no, basically what I have right now is Big Baby and the Good Samaritan. I'm going to say that the Good Samaritan is attunement, right? Because it's... the right hand of Doom is technically a magic item, but it's not one that he has to attune to. And we have Big Baby. I'm trying to think what other magic items he would have. We could probably argue... I mean, his AC is only a 15 at the moment. I feel like it could be higher. I'm trying to think what other items and things that he's had, to my knowledge. I mean, we could argue that the trench coat could be in like a magic trench coat, like a +2 trench coat. Oh, you're right. Okay. What can we give him that'll give him Speak with Dead? Because he did do that, right? There was that one scene where he like reanimated the guy to ask him a question. Shit. Is there an item that gives you Speak with Dead? Oh, you know what? How about this? How about this? How about... we give him... I was gonna say, how about we give him the, Okay, here's what we'll do. I'll solve all this real quick. We'll give him... We'll make him a 16th level fighter. How about that? Change that up a little bit. Give him an extra 10 HP. 164. I don't think anything changes between 15... Nope. So it's 16. We're going to give him the feat, Ritual Caster, and we're going to have it be Cleric. So that means he can cast per the ritual caster feat, which will jump up, which will give him... Actually, Speak with Dead's not a ritual, is it? Nope. I'm stupid. But I have an idea that we can make this work. So I'm trying to think, does he cast anything else? I didn't want to go here. I wanted to go down here. Wish it didn't reset every time I searched. Magic Initiate wouldn't give you enough to get you to that point. Yeah. I don't think now that I'm thinking about it, Speak with Dead isn't a ritual spell. Like... Nope, it's not. I'm dumb. Okay. I mean, he doesn't really use any other magic, so why don't we just remove that? We'll drop him back down to 15. Because, why not? It was a good thought that I had initially, and now I take it back. But yeah, I'm fine with giving him, is there a magic item we could give him? Or we could just make it an innate spellcasting thing, as you said, because it didn't seem like he used any item to cast Speak with Dead. He just sort of did it. So, I'm fine. He's a pretty high-level character. He could have gathered a magical boon. So we're going to go... Innate spellcasting. Speak with Dead. Once per long rest. So there. Now he's got Speak with Dead ability. It was a good catch. I like the idea, things you guys were throwing out there. We'll add that in. It's, again, as I stated, a little... it's kind of wonky to start to pull all these things together because we do have some issues with mechanics versus, you know, the game itself. So, let's scroll up and see if we have anything that really... I can't think of, Yeah, we could do it like that. It would be basically a cantrip and then 3 other things as you level up. And then that would be Speak with Dead as a 3rd level spell. Darkness is a 2nd level spell. I'm fine just giving him Speak with Dead once per day, which is basically rolling those in, because he doesn't really use any other spells that I can think of. Unless you guys, maybe you guys know of one. And if you do, please throw it out there and I'll add it in. We'll make it work. As we discussed when we looked at the Cambion before as kind of our loose basis for Hellboy as a class. That he, Cambions do have innate spellcasting of Alter Self, Command, Detect Magic, and Plane Shift. He obviously doesn't have those spells. But I'm okay with him having, Speak with Dead once per long rest. That I don't think is overpowered by any means. Vicious Mockery. Yeah. I mean, you could make that argument. So we've got the cantrip, and then you'd have a 1st level spell, and Darkness is a 2nd level spell. Yeah. Vicious Speak with Dead. I mean, yeah, I'm just fine with it being Speak with Dead once per long rest. That kind of rolls the 3 spells all into one to give you a 3rd level spell rather than a cantrip, a 1st and a 2nd. I'm fine with the, let's say, we'll go with a +2 trench coat. So that'll boost his AC up to a 17. It's not too bad. That's more reasonable. Because he gets hit a lot. So that's a lot. That's also a thing. We don't want to make him too high of an AC so he's unhittable. Because he gets beat up a lot. So that's why we're relying heavily on our... Oh, we'll make the No, the +2 trench coat wouldn't be attunement. I can't really think of anything else that he would use. I don't want to, like, belabor this point too much. Yeah, I mean, doesn't really wear armor. I mean, we could give him magic boots. I don't know what the boots would do. He doesn't really wear any amulets that I can think of. Magical belts or boots of any kind. I mean, we could say he's gonna have a belt of dwarven kind, but he already has poison resistance, so that kind of counteracts that. It would add more to his constitution, but now I feel like we're just stretching for items to give him. Sure. Yeah, I'm just trying to look at stuff to see if anything really jumps out at me. Oh, you know what? I was gonna say, this is something I thought about before for the Good Samaritan. Also functions like a sword of sharpness. This just came to me, so we're gonna add that in. So, a sword of sharpness. If we jump down, scroll up here. So, sword of sharpness does maximum damage against objects. So when he shoots, as we know, it blows through pretty much everything. So it does maximum damage against objects. So you don't even roll, it just does 10 damage against objects. If you hit a creature with the attack, roll a natural 20, it takes an extra 14 damage. Then you roll another 20. If you roll a 20 again, you lop off one of the target's limbs. In addition, you can speak the sword's command word. We're losing that part, but so. But yeah, that way it does maximum. It's only, you know, if you get that good shot, you're gonna do extra damage. You're gonna do, you know, a decent amount of stuff, but it also puts a hole in pretty much any object. And I feel like that makes it that those two things combined, Mace of Disruption and Sword of Sharpness, while being unbreakable, also makes it worthy of an attunement slot. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we don't need to like sit here and fully give him. I'm not like gonna go too crazy with any of this stuff, and I'm thinking we don't need to sit here and give him maximum attunement items like you would like on your own character. Like he's got to have 3 filled attunement slots, and then sit there and optimize all of his other, you know, all of his other non-attunement magic items. I feel like the Good Samaritan, his right hand, the right hand of doom, Big Baby, giving him a trench coat that's a little bit more resilient, and the ability to speak with dead once per day on top of all the other stuff he has just from his class, makes him a fairly formidable character. I don't think this Hellboy disjustice in any way. I don't think there's any... Again, and like I said, we could look here and try to be like, okay, well, what if we give him a ring that, like, again, we could try to give him items that give him abilities that he has. But I think, like, we could go, I think, is it right here? No, next. Ring of Regeneration. We could give him that, where he regains a d6 hit points every 10 minutes. Provided he has at least 1 hit point. Because he does have a decent healing factor, we could say that he has one of those rings, but yeah, you know, you're right, I could give him a trench coat of displacement, but, you know, like I said, we're at the point where we're trying to just optimize Hellboy with magic items from Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and less about trying to just make Hellboy in 5th edition. You know, like I said, we could give him this ring. We could give him the Ring of Evasion, so he can re-roll He could choose to succeed on dexterity saving throws. Yeah, there's a lot of things we could do, but like I said, the goal is to build him in 5th edition with things that make him in 5th edition, not take stuff from 5th edition and like shoehorn it onto the character to just make the character better. You know, if I had seen a situation or knew of a situation where his trench coat like allowed him to shift and not be where he was, then I would say absolutely Cloak of Displacement. If we saw him wearing a ring that let him regenerate, and it's an innate thing that he has regeneration, and I think I'm just gonna cut it here. But one last look through from top to bottom of Hellboy in 5th edition. 15th level fighter. He's a gunslinger fighter. This is Matt Mercer's homebrew fighter archetype. It is available for free or pay what you want on the DM's Guild website, so you can get that yourself. You also need the player's handbook, but primarily just the... you could probably even get away with the base rules to just use fighter, the base fighter, because you're going to be using the archetype from the gunslinger. The DM's guide to pull some of the ideas for what the magic items do, and we use the Cambion as a loose basis, which is a half-human, half-demon, to kind of pull some ideas for the kind of quick-together homebrew we threw together for what Hellboy's race would be. Yeah, exactly, Carp and Zelda, to both of your points. He has a massive library of magic items, especially like one-off items or like scrolls type things, potions that he could just go and get, but they're not like a staple of his everyday loadout. They're things that he needs for a job, and he goes and gets them. So stats, we're looking at 20, 16, 18, 10, 14, 8. Proficiency in Arcana, Athletics, Investigation, Perception, and Religion. His weapons of choice, the Good Samaritan, his right hand, the right hand of Doom, and Big Baby. He's got 2 grit points from his Wisdom. He's got proficiency in all the languages of the things he typically fights. Dark Vision, resistance to fire, cold, lightning, poison, and bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magical weapons. The Archery Fighting Style to boost his ranged attacks a little bit. Second Wind for the healing and his healing factor. Action Surge to do a little bit more on every turn. Violent Shot, his grit point access abilities. 3 attacks per turn. Indomitable to reroll saving throws. Yes, you're right. Yes, his shopping would be funny. And thank you, Zelda. Yeah, I didn't want to overdo Simon. You're right. I could have given him a stopwatch that froze time. That would have been accurate, but a little bit too powerful. The stopwatch of Time Stop and let you cast Time Stop once per day or something like that. Here's his ability score improvements. We gave him the innate ability to cast Speak with Dead once per long rest. His trick shots and his piercing shot ability from his fighter subclass. Give him a +2 trench coat. And then we have the Good Samaritan, the Right Hand of Doom, and Big Baby as his magic items. So there we go. That is how you build, or at least my way of trying to build Hellboy in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. You guys let me know what you think. I mean, obviously those of you here in the chat, you have throughout, and I appreciate it. If you guys are watching this on YouTube tomorrow, or the day after probably, than the actual stream, and you want to catch it live, it is Wednesdays on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/nerdimmersion. It's going to be at 9 p.m. is the planned start time. We were doing it at 8. I pushed it to 9 so that more people can kind of get in here to enjoy it and help me comment on things. So 9 p.m. is the planned start time. This will be happening every Wednesday. Let's pull open Google Chrome, and we'll go to bit.ly/IBC plan. And that is not the... Oh, I put an extra L in there. There we go. This will take you to my document where... Oh, sorry guys, it's going to be a little difficult for you to read the chat on the screen. But I will scroll down here. And, oh, who did we add today? Oh, you wanted to add... Who did you say, Hypertroller, back at the start you wanted me to add in onto this list? trying to remember. He asked if we were building somebody else. Oh, Ghost Rider. That's what it was. So, oh, this is Leroy Jenkins, and then this can be Ghost Rider. Yeah. So this is November 22nd, the day before Thanksgiving. 11/22/17. So let's see. Yes, so hopefully you guys enjoyed my Hellboy build. What we've got coming up, we've built so far Trevor Belmont in his Netflix Castlevania series iteration. Then I took a week off because I was away on vacation. Then I built a polearm bugbear, so this was just it was not a character, but a build suggestion. So we built a polearm wielding bugbear. Last week I built Tuxedo Mask from Sailor Moon. This week I built Hellboy, as we did a little bit earlier. Sure. You want me to build Tingle? I will put Tingle on this list. I will hate myself when I make it, but that's already into December, so I probably won't. I'll forget about it. Tingle's on the list. So, then next week is the most dragony dragon. This is to try to shoehorn and fit as much dragon-based abilities and things into one character. The most dragony dragon. Followed by Darth Vader, Iron Man, Captain Jack Sparrow, Ichigo from Bleach, Sephiroth, a Warforged pirate, Navi Knobs from Discworld, Ezekiel Stone from Brimstone, Groot, Samurai Jack, Shrek, Link, Leroy Jenkins, Ghost Rider, and then Tingle. Oh, maybe add Hulk or the Power Ranger. Oh, God. Thank you, Carmageddon, for the follow, by the way. Let's see. Since you gave me the option, I will add a Power Ranger. I'm not going to add the Hulk or Captain Planet unless it's specifically requested. And you said Guts, and that's Berserk. One thing I will say that this has done is this has forced me to brush up on a lot of series or things that I haven't gotten that familiar with as I have to build them. I mean, most of these I'm familiar enough with that I know how to build them. But, like, I mean, I haven't played Final Fantasy VII in a long time. And, like, I don't really know much about Discworld. Other than the luggage is about all I know from Discworld. So, I have to brush up or read that. So this is 11/29/17. Power Ranger is going to be first build of December, 6th, and then the 13th. 12/6/17. Oh, sorry, 12. This is, I think, I just do that backwards. 6 and then 3. Oh, 6 and 13. That's what it was. 13. Yes, I guess I could build the Kingdom Hearts version of Sephiroth. That would be pretty funny. Yes. So. Alright, so we're already almost done through the end of this year with builds that you guys have suggested. So I'm pumped to build these. One of the ones I'm probably most excited to build on this list is probably Iron Man. Because I think that's going to be one of the hardest ones to build. Because notice they did specify Iron Man, but I also have to build Tony Stark, so it's like a 2-for-1. I get to build Tony Stark and then also the Iron Man armor, so I'm very excited for that. I already have some thoughts on how I'm going to do it, which is very excited. I'm very excited about. I'm also in the process for something for my own fun thing that may make an appearance at some point in a homebrew campaign of mine. I'm building Voltron, basically. Exactly, Artificer is my thought for Tony Stark, and that his mechanical servant will not be a mechanical servant, but instead the Iron Man suit that he will then climb inside and use that. So I'm pumped for that. So, yeah, I'm building Voltron, but not, like, the Lions, like, but a version of Voltron. Like, 5 things that combine together to make a larger thing. Yeah, I'm going with, like, the Mark II, like, the standard red and gold Iron Man. I'm not gonna be, like, the Stealth Iron Man suit, or, you know, the Iron Spider, or anything like that. I'm just keeping it nice and simple. Because, I mean, maybe down the road we might revisit a different specific Iron Man suit. But for this, we're just gonna stick with, your base classic Iron Man, the one that everybody kind of thinks of when they think of Iron Man. You know, none of the crazy bells and whistles and things like that. You have to build how an arc reactor works and all sorts of fun stuff. Yeah, there was an old Eberron class that basically looks like a Hulkbuster. It was like a Warforged Rampager, I think it was called. That was a pretty cool class, or it was a prestige class, but yeah, it basically looked like a Hulkbuster. That was pretty sweet. Okay, so we kind of ran over the time. We're at about an hour and a half. I was trying to keep these build videos to an hour. We usually end right around there, but we did bullshit for a bit here at the end and chat, and I do enjoy that stuff. So I hope you guys here in the chat live, and those of you watching later on YouTube, do enjoy these videos. Building characters is one of my absolute favorite things to do in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, or any edition of Dungeons & Dragons, or any RPG at all for that matter. So I said, why not do it online and build it with people in the chat who can accompany me, and I can share one of my absolute favorite things with those folks on the internet here. And thank you again for the follows, guys, for those of you who have been hanging out with me here. I appreciate it. The channel has been growing slightly bigger, you know, every month, and I you know, it's no small share, you know, by all of you guys coming out and supporting and things of that nature, and it helps me want to keep doing these videos. But yeah, I guess I'll close this out with my little spiel. Don't have any other streams going on for this week. This Sunday, and as with every Sunday, we do a vodcast of our old. I did a homebrew campaign that ran for over a year. Started back in 2015. Unfortunately, it died because the party TPK'd. But so we ran Out of the Abyss and a couple other pre-written campaigns while I've been writing my own homebrew in the background, like all from the ground up, designing maps and everything for it. But when this homebrew we're playing right now of Storm King's Thunder / Against the Giants ends, we're rolling into my second homebrew. But because we make a lot of references to the old game, I've been rebroadcasting the old episodes for you guys to check out. And if you curious why we used Flint Bucks as our currency, that's where the character is from, is that old campaign, so things like that. And then again, I'll be doing a separate video on YouTube, but if you're going to be at Gen Con next week, so am I. So maybe we should hang out, play some games together. I've got I have about 15 D&D 5e Adventurers League characters all ready to go, from varying levels of level 2 all the way up to level 15 for what I've played in the past. So I'm down for Adventure League stuff. I'm down for testing people's new games. I'm not there in a media capacity, I'm just there as a fan, so I don't have to do anything. But I have a lot of my other Twitch and YouTube friends that are going to be there. I'm going to go try to see them. But yeah, or if you just want to hang out and bullshit about games or grab a beer or something, and you're there, let's hang out. So, anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for hanging around with me to the end, guys, here in the chat. And if you're watching on YouTube again, come join us and have fun live. So, see you next time.